Namaskaram, ഞാൻ എലിക്കുട്ടി. ഇന്നത്തെ video ഒരു special guest ഉണ്ട്. We have a fellow American who is an author and has recently published a book. And it's special because it focuses on her trip to Kerala. So I'd like to welcome to Elikutti's channel, Samantha.
Namaskar.
Swagatam. I've been seeing you on social media for your participation in the Tamil community. But before we get to that, let's talk about your book, why you decided that writing a book was something you wanted to do. This is your first book.
Basically, when I got back from Kerala, there were two primary motivations. The first being that I have the worst memory ever, and I wanted to find a way to preserve all of my memories, so like 30 years from now, it won't just be a tiny smidge of a memory. But then secondly, I also, when I got back, which maybe you've experienced also, but people are very curious and they have a lot of negative stereotypes in their mind. So they would ask me like, did it smell bad? Did I feel safe? All of these really negative questions. So I wanted to find a way to hopefully dispel all of the stereotypes and show what a great experience I had.
So you were staying in the south of Kerala, that's right. You were in Kovalam?
Yes, Kollam district, Kungalam was the name of the village.
Your work is semi-autobiographical. So what tips or advice or experiences do you think are very valuable in the writing process?
It took me honestly 2 years to write it, and the primary reason was because I'm very bad about like being self-deprecating, self-doubt, telling myself like, what do you know? This is gonna be terrible. Everyone's just gonna think you're stupid. Why are you wasting your time? So then I read online, you cannot edit that which you have not written. So then I was like, okay, let me just write everything down, even if it's absolutely terrible. Because I can go through endless periods of editing, and I can polish it up and make it better. I can hire an editor. There's so many options, but I can't do any of that until it's actually written.
Now, if you had to summarize your book in just one sentence, what would it be?
A very naive, anxious, worried young woman goes to India by herself, and she experiences everything, and she gets to see how life is when she's not behind the veil of everything she's been raised and everyone she's been around, and really kind of look introspectively and see, just to learn more about the world, which I know sounds really cliche. But
so about the village that you stayed in, like how would you describe your time?
it was the most idyllic, like peaceful, serene experience I've ever had in my life. Like the school grounds itself were on like 3 acres, gated. We had like 3 or 4 dogs. They were great. Like I sound extremely sheltered. And I love to read all the movie posters and the political signs, even though I can't read them. I just like to look at them, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
As a foreigner, you get like a round of questions a lot from people. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I get a lot of very similar questions, and I think some of them are unfair. What are some questions that maybe you've received that you're kind of tired of answering, or you feel they don't even necessitate an answer?
People who ask about my husband. And not in general, but people who are like, oh, did he use you? Really assumptive, rude questions like that I don't appreciate. But a lot of people will become angry at me, and they'll say like, I've been studying English and I haven't been getting any attention. People don't appreciate my efforts. And I completely agree, and I've spoken out on it several times about how I don't deserve any special treatment or anything.
Alright, so all this talking about your book has probably made you a bit nostalgic for Kerala, so why don't we have a little quiz to check and see how much you remember about Kerala culture and cuisine. Alright, so I know that you said that your school was in Kovalam, but a lot of your book takes place in Trivandrum, so I based a lot of questions off of some places in there. So let's see. So if you can see my screen, what's the name of this location in Trivandrum? It's been in the news a lot lately over its owner, and it's really famous because they found some vaults with a bunch of gems and wonders. Do you know the name of this temple?
I've heard so much about it. The Padmanabhaswamy temple?
Yes, it is!
Is it really?
Ding ding ding! Yay!
I'm so happy!
Very cool. Alright, next one. What's the name of this location? It's near the zoo. It has a lot of interesting things inside of it if you want to learn about the Travancore Kingdom and a bit of Kerala in general.
Kerala Kalamandalam?
No!
Oh no!
I'll give you one more chance.
A Napier Museum?
Yay!
Yay!
The Kerala Kalamandalam is actually in Thrissur, and the word Kala means art. The people who train to become Kathakali performers and dancers and instrument players, they train there in Thrissur. It's one of the most well-known places for that. And the Hill Palace is in Kochi, and it's really famous because it was the setting of the old movie Manichittattare, which has been remade into a lot of different. I think it even has a Tamil adaptation. I have to look up the name of it, but it's like a
everything.
No. If you've been on my page, you may have heard this story. My friend Anjana and I did a series on Kerala food. One of these dishes has a legendary story in which it began in Trivandrum.
Avial?
Yes! So the story goes that there was a big party in the King of Travancore. He was running out of food, so he had the chefs just throw together what was left, and it was a bunch of veggies and coconut paste and everything, and here's avial. So that's the story behind that. So have you had the other dishes?
I'm vegetarian.
Oh, you're vegetarian? Okay. You know, actually, a lot of people have a misconception that Kerala doesn't have a lot of veg food because they're so famous for eating beef and everything.
Though.
But they have so much veg food. Yeah. Yeah, they do. All right, these breads. Do you know the name of them?
Idiyappam?
Which one is idiyappam? The top one or the bottom one?
The stringy one?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, yes, that's idiyappam. So that's like they also call them string hoppers in other places. So yeah. So this is called patri.
Oh, patri.
Yeah, patri. So it's a very thin kind of bread that you have with different kinds of stews. I was bringing up food because of course everyone loves to talk about Kerala food, but also in your book you talk a lot about like the different snacks and people are always feeding you, and as someone who's been to Kerala, it's like you can't say no to food. Yeah,
like even if you're crying at a breakfast table.
So yeah, but food and memories go hand in hand for sure.
100%.
And I could tell as you were like going through your book, like you always focused on the food. You would go through this and this, and then you're like, but wait, we have to talk about dosa. So this last part is the fun part that I was really excited about because I'm all about language. So each of these Malayalam words are related to a Tamil word. So from reading the Malayalam word, and I'll read it out loud for you, tell me what you think it means and then tell me what the Tamil word is for it. Okay, so the first word is vairat.
Age?
No, vairat.
Finger?
So it's the word for stomach, vairat.
Oh, I thought Vayasu because of age and Viral for finger.
Yeah, vice is also age in Malayalam. Etra vayasunda, how old are you?
Oh.
I just saw this on the Tamil channel because she's been doing body parts, and I've noticed a lot of body parts in Malayalam are the same as Tamil. For example, karnet, mukku, mukham. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, and the second one, kada.
Story?
Yes, story.
Okay.
In Tamil, what is it?
Kadai?
Kadai, that's right. So the next one is chuvappu.
Red?
Yes. So what's the Tamil word?
Sivappu?
Yeah, so it's very similar. And then this is a whole sentence. You probably know this sentence. It's a basic. Ningulude pere endaane.
What's your name?
Yeah, so in Tamil, how would you say it?
Unga per enna?
This is so fun.
I was so scared. I was like, she's gonna see that I'm a fraud.
Some words in Tamil become dirty words in Malayalam.
Oh, yeah, my students used a few of them. But the one that my students used the most was something about hair.
Oh yes, it starts at the end. You know, kids will just call each other that, like anything. Like instead of like, hey dude, hey bro, they're like, hey, you know? It's like, so that was super fun.
I didn't fail.
You didn't fail. No, you did great. What would you want your audience to take away from your book? Like when they're going in, they download it, they put it on their Kindle. What kind of expectations would you want them to have?
One of the main things that I like about reading is that you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and you can see how a completely different experience is. So if you've grown up somewhere, if you've lived somewhere your whole life, and then seeing it from the eyes of an outsider, it gives you so many people would email me, message me, even leaving like Amazon reviews and things, and they would say like, they saw the beauty of Kerala in a completely different way.
I was saying, I also heard that you have a Tamil book in the works. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I just finished writing it a couple of weeks ago. I'm going through editing right now with my husband and my tutor, and just making sure that everything's correct. And then I'm sending it out as like tests, section by section, to kind of see a perception of how was it. Did it help you? Are you able to understand it? Are you able to move on to the next sections? Things like that. Because when I started learning, you may have experienced this also, the resources aren't as many as I would like, because previously, like in high school, I studied Spanish, and there are infinite resources for that. And then like 8 years ago, I studied a little bit of Hindi, and there were endless resources for that. And then coming through Tamil, it was just so overwhelming how difficult I had to dig for resources. And I think I tried like 5 different books, and so many of them either focused on kids who were raised abroad, who have grown up listening to Tamil but want to learn to actually speak it. It was so difficult to find something geared towards what my strengths and weaknesses were, that I felt like there were probably other people who felt the same way that I felt.
So tell us, where can we find your book, and where can we learn more about you and what you do, and follow you on social media?
So my book is available on Amazon for most countries. There is a delay on the paperback in India due to the lockdown, because their printing presses are in Mumbai and Chennai. It is, if you're in the US, it is also available on my website, samanthakannan.com. It's available in ebook, as well as if you have a subscription to Kindle Unlimited, you can access it there as well, so you don't have to pay anything. And then if you wanted to follow me on social media, I have Twitter is non-Samantha, not like the Tamil non-nyan. A lot of people think that I'm talking about bread. They're like, do you just really like naans?
It's like non-Samantha parota. I like your biggest following is on Quora. You seem to have like a fan club there. Like it's intense. Like I went on Quora, I started an account, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like
you can. You have to. I'll share all your answers. I'll find you.